Welcome to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle. Joining me again, the great Gordon Tallis. Let's bring the journos in, Paul Crawley and Dean Ritchie, and we have breaking news. Adam O'Brien, the coach of the Newcastle Knights, set to be sacked tonight in a board meeting in Newcastle. Thoughts on this, Doggy?
Yeah, just to clarify it, Braith, it's of mutual agreement. He's cooked, Adam O'Brien, that's what he's telling the club. It was a football committee meeting with a few board members present. It has to be ratified at a full board meeting on Thursday. The payout will be between 300 to 500,000. Isaac Moses was at the meeting, his manager, and the replacement coach is to be confirmed. It will be a process, but it seems quite clear that Blake Green will be the man, another Isaac Moses client. So Adam O'Brien's tenure looks like it's done, Crawls, provided the full board sign off on it, which clearly they will.
So the process is expected to take us back where we thought it would end 3 or 4 weeks ago. You know, that's what concerns me about what's happening at the Knights at the moment. Isaac Moses has gone in there with one client today, and we will emerge with another client taking over the job. Blake Green, by all reports, has a great relationship with the players at Newcastle. He's obviously very well liked. But the experience is the question. There's a lot of experienced coaches out there in a position to take this job, and I just hope the Knights do go through the process before they land on their man.
Well said, Craig.
Gordy, Adam O'Brien, is it the right decision or not?
Well, you'd have to be in there close and, you know, have your ear to the ground. I thought a couple of years ago they were struggling. They went on that great run. This year, they've been really good defensively until the last 5 weeks. So whether they've given up, I know there's been injuries. I just went through it, you know, last night with Dez Hasler. So it's never a good time to let a coach go. But I think he's had a chance to get that roster to, you know, where they needed to be.
Doggy, you spoke about the details just there, but what's happened today? Why has it been accelerated? We've heard murmurs, rumours for quite a while now. I've spoke to a few journos as early as this morning, and reports that Pari was denying it. What's happened in the last few hours that's sped this up?
Oh, look, they've denied it, Blake, but Braith, rather. There was clearly something going on behind the scenes. For whatever reason, they've decided to play silly buggers with the media. Look, there is a suggestion, too, that Adam O'Brien has lost the dressing room. Yeah, it's probably not the time nor the place to go pointing fingers. A bloke's just lost his job, but certainly the speculation is there. Was his tenure a success? He's been there since 2020, 143 games, 62 wins for a 43% strike rate.
So
is that successful?
Just going back,
to be debated.
Just going back to it, has he conceded?
He's
or
conceded.
Conceded defeat. Was he pushed, or is he just put his hand up?
I think Braith, he was, as I said before, I think he was cooked emotionally and mentally, and
Well,
it had
just
finally
the
got to him.
speculation, big club,
Everything.
rugby league town.
He's won one finals game in his tenure there, so clearly thinks that the pressure's got to him.
Crawls made a good point. Don't you go out now and put it to tender and see who is prepared to go there?
We'll get to that, Gordy, because we'll talk a bit more about Blake Green. But why didn't it work? Let's just quickly look at this. Why didn't it work with Adam O'Brien at Newcastle? Why didn't they reach the heights that were expected? And, you know, they've done okay. Let's be honest. They've done okay. They've made their finals. They've only won one final, I believe, since he's been there. But where did he get it wrong, or where did it go wrong?
There was huge anticipation when he took the job. He'd been very successful working with Craig Bellamy in Melbourne, and he'd won a premiership with Trent Robinson at the Roosters, and there was huge expectations. I think he struggled to have the right experience around him at that club. I think he was left a little bit stranded in his early times. I think the Knights have made some pretty poor choices along the way when it comes to their recruitment.
When you say stranded, is that with players or
I'm just saying,
staff
a lot
around?
of young coaches, you look, as an example, and we don't always sit here and praise Gus, but Gus and his help in making life easier for Cameron Ciraldo.
He takes the bullets.
Richo at the Tigers with Benji Marshall. You know what I mean? He takes the bullets, he takes the pressure off, he gets things working. If you've got an experienced coach like Bennett, he can kind of move around, mate, and he knows what to do. He's been around the game that long, he can get the job done. But at Newcastle, I just feel that they were coming out of a really tough period. And I just feel that the club didn't have enough structure around him to make it an easy transition.
Did he ever have a squad to be top 4? I debate that. I don't think he did. There's a couple of years there he had a fair squad, but I don't think he was ever in a position
Well, they
to
made
win
the
a
top 8, so
premiership.
that means that the squad was there.
Yeah, but Gordy, they limped in 4 times and won 1 game. So,
Yeah.
I'm not doubting their
Yeah, but
ability to make the
success-
finals.
It
but
is
let's be
debatable.
honest.
It is debatable. And I
But
think
again, it goes back to a lot of their recruitment, mate. They paid top dollar for some, and we don't have to mention names, but for some questionable buys. You know what I mean? There was
trouble in their
players
halves
that
too.
went there on too much money, and if you're going to do that, dog, well, of course you're not going to get a premiership winning roster.
And I think, with all due respect to Adam, he's done a good job there. He just hasn't got them where they wanted to get to, and maybe he's had enough time now to do that. So he's been a successful coach there. He just hasn't won a comp, or he hasn't really got close. But I wouldn't say it's been a
No,
a
No, I
failure.
don't think it's been a failure at all.
And in fairness this year too, like losing Kalyn Ponga, it's just such a huge loss for that team. Like when he's on the field, they're a chance of beating everyone.
He just couldn't sell on his halves either. It was a rotating door week after week for the last couple of years. He just never found that combination which you need to go deep.
Is it a hard club to coach? It's a one-team town. They're very passionate, but I don't think that's so much the problem. It can add to it, but even with the leadership there and the people running the club, and there's been a bit of friction there for quite a while. Is it a hard place to coach? And
I'd go the opposite, Braith.
You go the
I
opposite.
think it's a wonderful place to coach.
Okay.
Look at the crowds, the facilities. There's always a fair roster there, albeit we've just argued that it's not a top 4 roster. But I think of all the clubs to be coaching at Newcastle, I would think would be a plum job.
I think they've lost
there's
their
been
way,
no
though.
politics there in the past or anything
There's
like
politics
that.
at every club,
Yeah,
Braith,
yeah.
to be fair.
I think as a club, like we talk about different clubs and their DNA, and you can almost pick what a club where they find their success. I think at Newcastle in the early days they built themselves as the people's team. You know what I mean?
local boys.
The local boys. They recruited locally. They had systems set up to make sure local kids got their best chance. Over the years, they've drifted away from that, and I just think that I think that's where they need to go back to find their spirit.
So is Blake Green the right man for the job? Now, you said it. It's interesting. He's been the assistant, so he's been working underneath Adam, same manager as you mentioned, and now we're hearing he's going to get the job. Have they interviewed other coaches? Are they going to interview othas this been lined up for quite a while now? Like, what have you guys?
Well, look, we all hear what's going on, and for weeks now, Blake Green's name has been the name that everyone's been speaking about at that club. They are saying now they're going to go through a process. Well, let's go through the process here. Who are the options? Brad Arthur's over in England at Leeds, is it?
Yep.
Going particularly well. Willie Peters is over at Hull, going particularly well. You've got other young coaches around the game. They've missed out on Josh Hannay now. Like, he's gone. That may have forced them to make the move here. They might want to miss out on someone else. But is he the right man? We don't know enough about him as a coach, Braith, because he's been in that system up at Newcastle, but that's it. What is he, the attack coach up there this year? They haven't
You think
been
Peter Parr would
standouts.
have too much experience not to go through a process?
Well, you'd hope
You would
so.
think the Knights, with their fans, and did Adam O'Brien, when he took on the fans a few months ago, you reckon that played
I
a
don't
part?
think it helped. It certainly didn't help. I think there's been periods along the way where if Adam had his time again, you'd hope that he'd change a few things. And that was certainly one of the bigger mistakes that he made, where he basically said the fans don't know anything. And the following morning he had to come out and apologise. Like, if Newcastle Rugby League fans know one thing, it's rugby league.
All right, the elephant in the room is Kalyn Ponga now. They signed him on big money. For a long time he's been there. Rumours always circulating about whether he's going to stay or go, and it's unsettling to say the least. What do we think they should do with Kalyn, and what do we think Kalyn's going to do here? Does he have any clauses in his contracts or anything that would allow him to move on if Adam's not there? Do we know anything about that?
Look, I'll ask you a question, Braith. Is it time, and I'm just throwing this out there, that with a new coach, and we believe it will be Blake Green, is it time for Kalyn Ponga to move along?
No.
Hang on, let me finish. Let Blake
No,
Green...
he said no.
I said no.
You want him to stay, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, though, let Blake Green have some room to move in his salary cap, probably 1.4 million, and then Blake Green can go out and maybe mould a roster which is to
but you're
what
moulding
suits him.
You're moulding a
bought
roster
Dylan
around
Brown.
Dylan Brown at 1.4 a year for 10 years. You need Kalyn there with him.
Yeah.
At least for the first year or two.
That's the problem though, Braith. If you've got Ponga and
Yeah, but you
Dylan
can't
Brown,
build a
you've
team.
got
You can't build a team.
$2.5, $3 million.
You can't
Okay,
build
so
a
which
team
one's a better
roster
player?
around Brown. You just can't. You may as well just say it's over now. It has to be. Kalyn's 10 times better player than Brown.
Yeah, but that's the problem. The problem for Newcastle moving forward is that they have got Kalyn and they have got Dylan Brown, and it's chewing up so much of the salary cap. There was a few months ago where I thought what you were talking about, Dog, it could have worked in that if Kalyn was to move on to another club, I thought to myself, well, Fletcher Sharp is a ready-made replacement at fullback. You had fellas on the market like Toby Sexton and Reid Marnie, and I thought to myself, for Kalyn's money, you could have completed your spine. I'm not saying any of those players are in his class, but I thought it could have been a more complete side. But those opportunities
I think
are
the
now
Brown
gone.
signing was crazy, and it's got worse as the years gone on, and it's got them to where I'm going to now with their cap. Now, their roster just seems out of shape, and we just spoke about that. You're talking about Kalyn and Brown, and then missing out on other players, and where do they go from here? It needs a rebuild, but because of those two big names on big money, it's going to be difficult, right? But it's
Unless, like Dog said, one was to leave. Like there was rumours a few months ago or a month ago about Kalyn potentially, putting out feelers for this new rugby competition. Who knows
If
where
this
it might
side's
end.
not good enough now under Adam O'Brien, and there's no room for Blake Green to move in the salary cap because of these two $1.5 million players, then isn't Blake Green inheriting exactly the same side? And if you get the same side, you're more than likely going to get the same results.
But that's where it's a coach's responsibility and it's his job to fix it. You don't get handed an NRL job unless the club's in a bit of strife at the time. Like, blokes don't get sacked because the club's sitting up the top of the ladder.
So what's the
those
recruitment
opportunities?
guy's
That's
job?
when you get
What
that
does he do?
opportunity.
If it's the coach's job, he should be coaching. The recruitment guy should be the
Yeah,
one
but he's got to
doing
put a
his work.
structure in place. Like Craig Bellamy's had success down in Melbourne because he has got good people around him, but he's moulded that club to fit what he stands for. You know what I mean? Like the Bulldogs are doing their job, and again they've got Gus there, but that's the concern about throwing an untested coach into that position. Like if you want someone to come in and know how to do the job from the start, you're probably better off going for an experienced coach.
Well, and that makes me think now, like, whoever's going in, because any coach that gets this job, whether it's Blake or whoever, will want Kalyn. Like, if you're a coach and you're going to a new club and you want to hit the ground running, you want Kalyn. You don't want them getting rid of Kalyn. So are they expecting Parry to make all those big decisions now?
Well, someone's going to have to make some big calls.
We've got
probably-
Peter O'Sullivan up there who he knows what he's about.
Look, O'Sullivan's a prominent figure, as is Peter Parr.
Yeah.
How Blake Green handles the situation in terms of status up there, does he feel inferior to them? Is he going to have to come out as a young rookie coach and start to say, it's my team and I want this and that? Or is he going to be sort of pushed into the third tier and have to cop what he gets?
They have to work as a team, but ultimately the coach is the head coach.
Well, it's his, what's on the line.
Doggy, when's all this going to be official, mate?
I'd say by Thursday, Braith, that's when the full board meeting will happen. No doubt they'll ratify the payout. They want to look after him too, Braith.
Yeah.
They do. They've got a lot of time for him. There'll be no haggling over the money. As I said before, 300 to 500, they'll come on a figure, or settle on a figure, and that'll be rubber stamped.
All right, big news in Newcastle. A massive 24 hours in rugby league, and it's, as it stands tonight, Brandon Smith won't be stood down by the NRL following alleged drug and betting charges. Thoughts on this, guys?
Well, there's two issues for mine. There's the Brandon Smith situation with the police charges that he has to front court, in September, and the NRL's made their early call on that, but I guess that you go through the process and we wait to see what happens there. The other side of this story that is very sensitive, but it relates to Victor Radley being named in the charge sheet as the person that allegedly Brandon was supplying the drugs to. So I guess, that the police have stipulated that Victor Radley has not been charged and there's no plans to charge him, but does it become a moral issue for the Roosters with his name attached to this that and comments previously from Nick Politis that the club has a zero tolerance. There has to be some heavy conversations.
We'll get to that, Crawls. Firstly, I want to touch on the no stand down. So, what do you guys think of the no stand down as it is right now? Well, for Brandon, that is.
Well, if we had all the information, Wayne Bennett, being an old policeman, you'd think he would know how serious the charges are. So I think if Wayne would be ahead of it. The NRL, I think they've done a pretty good job in the past of deciding whether a player gets stood down or not. So you've got to go on, because I think they've got a pretty good track record, the NRL.
Well, let's have a look at the lawyer's statement today, Brandon Smith, that is. If Mr Smith has told a person that he is playing, I don't believe that breaches the law. It's no different to him telling his family and friends that he's playing. This is a bloke who's excited to play and was confident of his abilities on the field. No allegation has been brought to my attention that he placed the bet, personally intended or directed a bet to be placed, or that any bet involving him in the game against Manly paid off in any way whatsoever. Dog.
Brandon Smith's lawyer, I spoke to him today. It's who we're referring to there. It's Paul McGurr. I had a long chat to Paul today. They are contesting both charges. He will plead not guilty at this point, albeit the drug charge they want more information about. It's not quite as easy as getting information in New South Wales because this is a Queensland matter. So Mr McGurr was quite forthright in pointing out the difficulties that Queensland Police will have in securing any proof about this betting allegation. And a couple of his points were they have to prove that the info wasn't available to the public, prove that the player tried harder to score a try than would be normal. Did the info lead to a bet? And did the player or did the person place the bet based on Brandon's information alone? 4 points that would be incredibly difficult, I would imagine, to prove in court.
Okay, a lot to unpack here, so we're going to do this methodically and carefully. On the alleged drug supply charge, the Roosters have been unwittingly dragged into this, whereby, according to a Queensland Police summons seen by the Daily Telegraph, it is alleged that Brandon Smith supplied drugs to his now former teammate Victor Radley. This stems from a golf trip to Queensland involving a number of Roosters players earlier in the year. The Roosters had a bye that week, so several players went on the trip to the sunny coast. Multiple players posted about the trip on their social media accounts at the time, but there is no suggestion whatsoever that any other Roosters players are involved in the allegations set out by Queensland Police. As far as we know, they simply attended the golf trip with Victor. Boys, thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, if we're talking about the drugs charges, so what we do know, and let's break through the bullshit here, what we do know is that the police report says Brandon was asked to help find someone to supply drugs. Again, Victor Radley's name is mentioned in the report, but there's no indication that he is guilty of anything, and the police have suggested that charges won't be laid. However, Brandon's up on a charge. He's got a long history of, look, let's say, a questionable... He's had some dramas in his life, hasn't he, Brandon? And you would have hoped that he would have learnt from this along the way. He's put himself in a very precarious position right now, and the Rabbitohs are backing him for all that they want. I've spoken to Wayne about it, and they are letting the process run. Like, you know, we live in a society where you are innocent until proven guilty. You go back to what we were talking about with the NRL stand-down policy. That's 11 years or more. You know, the jail time if you're found guilty of something like that. So it doesn't cross that line. I think the NRL's made the right call right now to let him play on.
Brandon wasn't in Queensland physically either. I think that's a very important point to make. The allegation is that he is some sort of cog in the wheel in this drug issue. And of course, his lawyer is also saying that too is incorrect. So there's plenty of work to be done before either of those charges can be proven.
South Sydney and his lawyers don't seem too worried about the betting allegation or the information given to friend about game information, right?
Well, you can tell someone, Braith. You're allowed to tell people, surely, if you're playing first grade. Wouldn't every young kid who makes his debut...
If that's all what it is, and say, I'm playing, I'm coming back in 2 weeks, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Mum,
I think it depends on what was said. You know,
if
like-
I say, hey, back the other team, I'd have a real issue with that.
Or if you're not starting and then you do start and you tell the friend that back him for first try scorer, is that crossing the line?
I don't think so. Me personally, if you're backing yourself to play good, or telling someone, hey mate, back me for first try scorer, the plays are on, you know, the Tigers have been, you know, had a weak left edge and that's where I'm sitting now, I'm taking over someone's spot. Personally, I don't have a problem.
And as long as there's not a plan in place from, you know, other players joining this to help create the opportunity for Brandon to score the first try. But in fairness to the bloke, like just reading through what we know right now, he's told, regardless of who this person is, he's told a bloke that he considers a friend, I'm playing this week, back me on the first try scorer.
All right, Roosters Chairman Nick Politis outlined his views on illicit drug use earlier in the year, and this is what Nick had to say. If somebody's caught doing cocaine or leaning over snorting something, we're going to get rid of them. Our stance is zero tolerance. We are very strong on it, Trent Robinson that is. Very strong on it also. While there's no suggestion of any wrongdoing by Radley or any other Roosters players, given Nick's zero tolerance policy when it comes to drug use, what has the response been from the Roosters and what could potentially happen here?
Well, the response, they've been very quiet. You know, there's been an indication that Nick has said that the club is treating this very seriously, and as they should. I'd imagine around the game right now, Braith, let's not kid ourselves, given Nick's previous comments and some that could be seen as a bit of a knock on how other clubs have handled it, there is a lot of interest out there right now to see how the Roosters handle it. Because regardless if charges are laid or not, the Roosters have unwittingly been brought into this. They've had Victor's name mentioned in the police report. They're up there away from home. There certainly has to be honest conversations. And you would imagine if they get to the bottom of it, well, I guess we wait and see what comes out of it. But yeah, I reckon around the game, people are watching with interest.
They've got a lot of heavy hitters, the Roosters, so I'm sure they are monitoring every syllable, Braith, in terms of anyone saying anything that might be remotely litigious.
Yeah.
What do you mean? No, everybody says Nick's a man of his word, so he'll back what he says.
He'll back what he says, absolutely. But no one's done that just yet.
No.
No one has been caught snorting cocaine. So, we haven't reached that situation yet, and God forbid that we do. Just on Brandon Smith, I think it's important to say too, guys, it's vitally important that no try was scored. So there was no collection of money. So, whatever allegations have been made, nothing came of it ultimately.
Do you think that the system needs fixing in terms of when naming teams, when teams are out injured? We looked at it today. We looked at the NFL protocols. It's a lot more thorough than what the NRL one is, but it's also quite similar. It's just,
they have to be in a 30-man squad or whatever they are, and you can't
I guess the challenge for rugby league at the moment is looking after the credibility of the game. And, you guys spoke about last night the betting investigation now involving the Panthers and the Bulldogs game, right? And the fact that punters out there have found out inside information about all the Panthers being stood down this weekend, and there's been a plunge on the Bulldogs, and the odds have completely switched. And this is a problem the game has at the moment. Like, over in American sport, look, it's not perfect, and there's always going to be late changes, but they do have a very clear, there has to be clarifications about player injuries. They have to keep the rival clubs, the fans, the media, everyone up to date.
Well, the game's so real. Like, if you look at Reece Walsh on the weekend, his pass, there would have been ramifications.
Of course there would have been. That's
if someone's got a
another
same-game
issue.
multi and he passes the ball, but he wouldn't have had any.
And the problem for the game is now people will say, well,
happens.
it shouldn't be the coach's responsibility or it shouldn't be the club's responsibility to let their opposition know of injuries that they may have or weaknesses that may have in their team. But the problem with the game at the moment is that the NRL is now taking, I think it's around $50 million annually from wagering agreements, right? Yep. So if we're going to take that money, surely we've got to have a little bit more transparency there. And you've got to
With
look
what?
after the
With-
integrity of the game when it
With
comes
what,
to
the
injuries and all that sort of
injuries?
stuff.
So if you're on an injured list, you can't play that week,
because
no
look,
matter what.
We've
Yep.
jumped into bed with the betting agencies,
Yep.
so surely you've got to put systems in place. Like, I understand why the coaches may not want it, but if you want to take the money, you've got to
Yep.
do it.
One thing I was thinking today is maybe name the team. Like, it's an hour before the game. You've got to name the team. Name it the day before. And then have a 19th man if there's an injury in the warm-up. Because all you're really covering for...
Well, they
is
do have a
injury.
19th.
Yeah, I know.
18th
Whatever it
man
may be. Carry an
Yeah.
extra one
Yep.
even. But name the team, 24 to 48 hours before the game. So if there are
Well,
players...
they know who's playing on Tuesday.
They do,
really,
right?
don't they?
But they don't always tell us. Like, remember a few weeks ago, Lachlan Galvin had his hand injury and Gus was on another program and he gave no clear indication. And that's the thing out there. And yet people are betting on these
I've run out on the
teams
field
straight
and-
after the previous week.
I've been named to start and went and sat on the bench.
Yes.
And Broncos took a fine.
That 4 o'clock Tuesday team announcement, Braith, you're spot on there. That's very antiquated, that goes right back to the days when we had Big League. It was at 4 o'clock, so the Big League program could come out on the Wednesday. It was the only reason we've had 4 o'clock Tuesday, and we've had it ever since. The Big League's long gone. Yeah. But you're right. What is the reason now for Tuesday?
So what's the happy medium then?
Why can't we put it back a bit later in the week?
Yeah.
But going back to the clarity around injuries and that, like that, they're betting on this Bulldogs-Panthers game way before the teams are even named. So again, you've got to go back, and you're never going to have a perfect system, but you've got to have something better than what we've got at the moment.
What it does tell you too is that a few players in and amongst all of that have done what Brandon Smith has done and told their mates information that should they or shouldn't have, but they did. You know what I mean? So it happens.
And this is like, not just in the NRL, but even some of the lower grades, there's been all these rumours for years and years and years about people getting early information.
All right, to finish, the matter is now before the courts, and Smith's lawyer, Paul McGurr, has said that he will contest the charges, and the Roosters put out a statement this afternoon stating the club will be making no further comment until the conclusion of the legal process. Let's take a look at the ins and outs for round 26. Thanks to Sportsbet, and Panthers to rest only 16 players this week for the Melbourne Storm. Garlick in for Grant Nelson returns. Sandon Smith replaces Walker. Radley has been named. Tamale in Savage, unfortunate for him, out for the season for the Raiders. That's devastating for him and their team. And Reynolds named on the extended bench for the Broncos. But the Panthers, they're resting everyone. Is this the right call?
I think it is. If they want to have a shot at the title, the only thing that's going to stop them, I think, is fatigue. I think they've shown in their last 2 weeks, Golden Point, Melbourne Storm, the Harry Grant to the hitting the upright the other day. I think that they know if they get it right in the big stage that they can worry every side.
Crawls, you've just spoken about integrity. Resting 16 players, is that showing integrity?
I think it's
would
showing the
argue
competition.
No. Gordy, I know what you're going to say here. The
What?
bigger picture is winning the premiership,
Absolutely.
and I thoroughly agree with that. Having said that, I just wonder whether 16 players is good for the game. Is it good for the fans? Is it good for the broadcasters? Does it set a good example? I don't think it does. Resting 1 or 2, I can live with.
Yep.
16, let's admit it, it's taking the piss.
Do you know who would be happy? Bulldogs fans and Panthers fans.
And they're going to play the Bulldogs into
But
a
the
victory
Pan- I don't
break
need Pan-
just before the finals.
Yeah, but I don't-
it gives their finals opponent a leg up.
Everybody blew up when, straight after Origin, they went from Perth to New Zealand. They didn't take 7. Didn't they go over there and win?
Well, they're not breaking any rules. That's the thing, and I think, as
don't-
Gordon mentioned there, like the Panthers in the last 2 weeks, despite going down, have pushed them, the
Unbelievable
two
football.
leading contenders right to the wire. They know, regardless of where they finish, they've got the firepower if they're fresh to win the comp. And the fact is, right, those 2 losses, they would need everything to go their way now to finish top 4. They're better off doing what they do. They go into the finals with their guns fresh.
I love
They're
it.
every chance.
It's extremely smart.
Is it in their
It's
DNA,
Yeah, do you
though,
reckon
Braith,
it is?
to
no
roll
one
over
has
like
won.
this?
No, they're not rolling over.
Well, they are.
They're not rolling.
They're not
over.
rolling over.
They're actually they're playing the
They're
long
outsmarting
game.
We
you.
don't give a shit about this week.
Yes.
We're going to field a reserve grade
Yes,
side.
that's what
They're playing the long
Is that
game,
in the
mate.
Penrith DNA that we know? The DNA that's won
Yeah,
4
you know
the
comps?
D- yeah, the
DNA that has been so damn competitive for 4 or 5 years.
DNA's winning a competition, like you said. And
Yes,
you
that
said
is their DNA.
Braith, you could still name a reasonably strong football side.
But they
They're
don't need
backing
to.
themselves, dog, to win the comp.
What happens if every
They're
side
doing
does it?
everything in their power
happens
to
if
put
other teams
themselves
start
in
to
the
do it?
best
They can't
position
do
to do it.
If you're comfortable with where you are on the ladder, you get everybody fit for round one of the finals.
Like
It's more important.
Even if they win their next 2 games, mate, they need the teams above them at the bottom of the 4 to lose their 2 games for them to jump over them. So what's the difference,
Hypothetically,
mate? Get them fit,
if the
get them
Dogs
right.
win by 40, hypothetically, is that good for our game going to the finals?
I'll be surprised if the Dogs do win by 40.
Is it good for the
because
game?
You talk about the Penrith DNA, mate.
South won by
They've
40
proven
last
time
week.
and
Was it
again,
good for the game?
no matter who they put on the park, they aim up.
Dog, was it good for South to win by 40 last week?
No, they won by 40 against a side that had injuries. This is a side that has decided
They
to
might have
rest
niggles.
players.
It's an opportunity too.
No team has ever won from outside of the 4, and they are mixing it up, changing their approach, and why not? When
Obviously,
in
you're not a
position they
Penrith
are.
fan, Dog.
You're really upset about this, Dog. Are you going to be all right?
No, I just don't like it, Braith. And look, Ivan's got every right to do it, and I'm sure I'll probably get hammered on social media, but I think 16 players, as I said, is taking the mickey.
Go Penrith and go Parramatta. All right, stick around, journos. The F1's return this Sunday as Aussie Oscar Piastri looks to extend his lead. The Dutch Grand Prix is live on Channel 506.
Here he comes. 4-time premiership winner Jerome Luai leading out the Tigers. Sunday afternoon at Leichhardt. Nothing better. The 8th one, mate. Thompson clears it out. Clifford goes short. The knee is over. Cowboys have got their first try. Jerome again. Oh, puts the big step in. And Taylor May gives Sammy Valamay an absolute bath. Luai back to the left, quick hands. May will get a double. Taylor May over in the corner for the Tigers. Drinkwater floats it up and Robson loses it. Big Sam Weller back to Jerome Luai. It's the Tigers of 05. May with the ball, yes, it is the Tigers of 05. Then for Taruba, off an amazing flick pass. Taruba to Fuller. Oh, yeah! Tigers! Fuller, he's got May in support. He's got Luai in support. It's Jerome Luai. Jerome's got his first 4-pointer as a West Tiger. Lorden, great play the ball. Drinkwater. Oh! Braden Burns! Now the ball for Clifford. On it goes to Drinkwater. Ensor again. The Cowboys. Perdew's there. Drinkwater to Perdew. And it's a hat-trick of tries to the Cowboys.
What a moment. Drinkwater is wheeling and dealing at his absolute best. You said right off the top today, this majestical little fullback loves playing the Tigers.
Welcome back. That was our turning point. Thanks to Ashley and Martin Medical Hair Centres. And that one's for you, Reedy, at Leichhardt Oval. He didn't like that, did he? Now,
doesn't
Doggy,
like that
are you
ground.
okay? Because
fine.
You took on Parramatta last week. Now you're taking on an immortal in Andrew Johns. I'm being a bit worried about you.
No, I'm fine, Braith. I'm calm, I'm composed.
Did you enjoy the game on the weekend, Parramatta Roosters game?
I watched it.
Were you
Do
in
you
the
think that
fetal position?
they've come
I had
somewhere this
a
year?
couple of beers to wash it down. Okay, look, I know what you're getting at, Braith. I wrote a piece last week that I had a crack at Parramatta by saying, look, the green shoots that we keep hearing about, where are they? They've won 7 games all year. They're running in 15th place. Yes, there are some signs there of improvement, but
Here they are. These are the green
They are in the
shoots.
same position, languishing down the bottom with the rest of the sides.
Oh.
Did you mention that Mitchell Moses had missed
Yes,
it?
I mentioned that, Crawls. I was more than fair. So, of course, then the inevitable happened, and on Friday night, they flogged the Roosters, and I copped it left, right and centre from all the fans. And, of course, then the great Andrew Johns decided to pipe in by saying on national television, Bulldog, why don't you pull your head in?
It's hard to pull in.
Yeah, thank you, Gordon. Yeah, there's no mirrors.
Joey's not allowed to have an opinion. You had an opinion.
So I had an opinion. So my argument
Joey
was,
can't have one?
So I wrote a comment piece saying Joey's an immortal. Just because we're not immortals doesn't mean we can't have opinions. And there it is there. And you don't need to discredit anybody personally just because they might not share your view.
Didn't you discredit
Thoughts?
Queensland through the year? Didn't you just discredit Parramatta?
Jason Riles.
But
What he done
now
this year
somebody
or not?
else just
That's professionally.
someone then talks
he had
about,
a crack at
then
me
someone talks
personally.
He wasn't
But
too
you
hard.
just need to toughen up as soon as we start talking.
I got
about
called
it.
a sook.
It's happened to us all. I'll
sensitive.
tell you, you
Not at
go
all.
through stages where you write some tough columns about different things and you sit there and you watch the game and it just blows up in your face. I know how you would have felt, mate. Don't worry about that.
Well, it was a big ball.
Our poor mate
Cinder
Bulldog
away.
over here was at the receiving end of a stitch-up today. Take a
Here we
look.
go.
Hi, mate.
Doggy boy.
What are you doing, Bolty boy?
Mate, I'm in the middle of a podcast with Joey and Matt's two young blokes. Now, I've got a bit of mail that you're going to unleash on 360 or something.
No, I'm not unleashing anybody.
Mate, you've got to drop off. He's an immortal. I know you've been captain of the game for 36 years, but
Mate,
you've got to drop
he's
off.
one of my favourite players of all time.
Well, mate, you wouldn't think so the way you wrote about him. Mate, he's a personal mate of mine. He's a personal friend of mine, okay?
So am I. Well, mate, he attacked me first.
No, attacked you? Mate, he's an immortal. He's entitled to attack who he likes.
Well, aren't you all entitled to an opinion?
Well, mate, yes, I am, but I wouldn't take on an immortal.
am
Eh?
Oh, mate, you've attacked Prime Ministers before.
Yeah, they're not immortal.
Yeah.
No, look, I'd advise you
Are you
on...
not taking the piss, or are you serious?
No, I'm serious. I'd advise you on 360 to drop off. Mate,
I'm not going to bag you on throw. I've said him a bit.
well, you're not going to go on there, so you've shit yourself, eh?
Do you apologise to me?
Hang on, he's here. What'd you say, Joe?
It's all right. If he wants to apologise, sweet.
Are you going to apologise?
No, I'm not apologising.
Why not?
Why doesn't he apologise to me for
Well-
calling me out on national television?
Well, mate...
No, that doesn't...
Well, hang on. He concedes. What do you want to do, Joe?
Yeah, I'll apologise.
He's apologized. Did you hear that?
Sorry, mate.
All right, well, then that's fine. I'm sorry too.
Oh, you finally apologised at the end.
I collapsed at the end, didn't I?
Did you know that was a...
No. No, I didn't know. I knew it was Hadley, but I didn't know I was being taped, and I didn't know I was going on a podcast. But now I do.
What about...
Stood my ground. Bolts was going to stand over me with that big fat head of his.
You apologised.
Mate, Bolts has got a fatter head than me.
That dog, you go up. You've been up a little level.
Thank you, Gordon.
All right,
Means
Calls,
a lot
what's
coming
your
from
beef for the week?
From happy hour to grumpy hour. Reece Walsh's, we spoke about it earlier. Reece Walsh was absolutely brilliant in that game against the Knights on the weekend. He scored a try, he set up two, he had two line breaks, four line break assists. He did everything, right? But the one moment I couldn't cop was this one. I've said before, I think Reece is cocky. I think that was condescending. He gives the ball to Cathery Hetherington, who's in his 100th NRL game. And I know, a lot of people think, it was a good moment. I just don't like it. I honestly don't like it.
You're bagging me for being grumpy.
No,
30
I'm bagging
seconds
you.
ago.
I'm bagging you
This poor bloke
for
hasn't scored a
apologising.
try
I'm not-
since 1918.
No, you know what?
And you want to bag him for scoring
There's
a
two
try.
sides to that. I think I've said all year, mate. I think there's a cockiness about the Broncos that bring them undone.
that's not
I want
cocky.
to see the Broncos, right?
That's good
go out in
camaraderie.
the final round of the season and beat the Storm. That's what I want to see.
And
when they're doing it against them, and the other side of this, you mentioned earlier in the show, is the betting side of things. And in no way are we suggesting that Reece was doing anything untoward here. But again, you've got markets for try scorers. This happened early in the game. A lot of people would have punted on Reece, but it wasn't first try scorer, and he did score later, so it takes all that away.
I get all
but
that.
again, I reckon it goes to the credibility.
He's just looking after a mate.
But
He's
do you
like-
reckon, Braith, come on, Gordy, if someone hands you a try, like Cathery Hetherington, he strikes me as a bloke that has gone through his life,
So,
right? Just let me
okay,
finish.
you wouldn't
He's
accept
got...
it.
I don't reckon I would,
What would
Braith.
you
I've
do?
never been given the opportunity. I'd throw the bloody ball back at him.
yeah, of course
I
you
would,
would.
mate. It's kind of embarrassing, isn't it?
You're a dribbler.
No, seriously, mate. I'm fair dinkum. Like,
A dribbler.
he's been given nothing in his life. What does he need to be given a try?
But you know
So it's
what?
like, mate, if it's under rates,
Bloody
right? If
oath I
it's
would
under
have.
rates,
He
it's
did
cute.
catch it.
It's NRL. Come on.
Well, watch this. So he goes,
I'd buy
do
it.
you
Yeah,
want
mate.
it?
I
Do you
know
want it?
I'm in the
Yes.
minority here, but
You'd boo Santa Claus, Claus.
yeah, probably would.
In the grumpy stakes, you win.
What's the Bulldogs bite?
Bulldogs Bite's about Dez saying
What about him?
18 months and 46 games and they got rid of him. What about that? You can't tell me anyone in the corporate world can be given 18 months to come in and fix something and have the ability to succeed. They have rolled over, and I think they are... You look at other clubs, you look at Serraldo was under the pump, the Bulldogs stuck solid, Seabold, Madge, Ricky Stewart, they all under pressure. They were boards that said, you know what, we're not going to blink first. And after 18 months, bringing in this bloke who's won 2 premierships, he has been given the bullet.
Gordy?
I think it's unfair.
I'm not an immortal. I can't have a go at
No,
it.
well, none of us can, according to Joey.
So what do you,
No, mate, listen, they've only won 5 games this year.
I get that,
They brought
Dawn.
Desi. Okay,
But this is a long term.
I'm going to ask
This
you
is
a
a long
question. I'm
term.
going to ask you a question. They're not the only club, right? A lot of clubs have gone through a lot of coaches, right? Do you think that they've improved?
They may not have improved, Gordon, but I think they would have improved.
So if you're a big boss of a company and you go there to change the budget,
You are told that you have time to make improvements. Look, we're going down the same path. It's a pattern emerging. Not one of those blokes has coached 100 games. In fact, there's only one Gold Coast Titans coach who's done 100.
I did a bit of
Cardi.
research. You know, the Broncos, in the same amount of time the Titans have been in, have gone through more coaches and won the same amount of grand finals in the same time. That's not bagging the Broncos. That's saying how hard it is when you get a big organisation like that to come, and they had Wayne Bennett, they had premiership winning coaches there. It's bloody hard sometimes, dog.
They made the tough call to bring in a gritty, eccentric by all means, but hardened coach. They gave him 18 months and they said,
I
you're
was
gone.
excited when he first came.
I think everyone was.
Yeah.
So was I.
I think he deserved another year and let him try to remould the roster that he was going to
It
do.
wasn't working though, dog. Like I agree. Before Dez signed, I actually wrote a column saying that Dez would be the perfect coach for the Titans for where they were at that point, right? And when Kieran Foran spoke on this show a few weeks ago, I thought to myself, you're right, mate, you have to dig your heels in. But it's just not working, dog. You know what? And it's the right decision, unfortunately, for Dez, but they've got a good young coach in Josh Hannay, and there's an opportunity to move forward. I thought they had a roster this year that should have been challenging for the top 8.
all right, stick around, Jonas. Up next week, cross live to Warriors coach Andrew Webster. Welcome back. Let's cross live now to Warriors coach Andrew Webster. Andrew, 2 rounds until finals. How important is a top 4 finish?
Oh, I think it would help. That's for sure. I think everyone gives the history lesson on that. If you're not there, you can't win the whole thing. But if we weren't in the top 4, I'm sure we'd certainly have a red hot crack. But it'd be nice to be in the top 4. That's for sure.
Webber, you've lost 3 games in a row, but you've gone back-to-back against the Dragons and again on the weekend a very impressive win against the Titans. With only a couple of rounds to go, what do you feel the team needs to improve on the most heading into the finals?
Yeah, I think we're not ruthless enough, Braith. Like we have our best periods are really good, but we don't put a 80-minute game of footy together at the moment. Even on the weekend, I thought we were really good. We put a lot of pressure on the Titans. They were starting to crack, and then the last 10 minutes we fell away and just let them, not back into the game, but just gave them two tries that a ruthless side wouldn't give the opposition.
Hey, Andrew, it's Gordy Tallis here, mate. Congratulations on your year so far. Losing Metcalf, you must be really proud of the way that your side adjusted to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, mate, and Mitch Barnett, mate, both of them really big losses for us. But really proud of all like the 3 other halves that have stood up. We pride ourselves on whoever wears the jersey does a good job, and I think a lot of people thought we were done and we were going to fall out of the 8 from there. But we've got on to manage to keep winning games of footy, and I think we've obviously still got a lot of improvement in us. But really proud of. Our young guys particularly standing up and helping everyone.
Andrew, Paul Crawley here, mate. We've seen Dez Hasler lose his job this week. There's a lot of talk around tonight that Adam O'Brien mightn't be in a great spot up at Newcastle. You're in your 3rd season now over there at the Warriors. Can you tell us about the structures and systems that have been in place over there to make your transition into the head coaching role run, I guess, as smoothly as it looks on the outside?
Yeah, obviously got great support from our owner, Mark Robinson, CEO Cameron George. Cameron really allows me just to be a coach. Every now and then he asks something of me from a commercial aspect or something like that, but really it feels like a footy club rather than just a business. And then Andrew McFadden, he's just done a great job with our recruitment. He's our general manager of football, and once again, he eases the pressure, does a lot of the work, and then we catch up and have a meeting about the future around recruitment and pathways. Obviously, we're trying to build a club here that every kid in New Zealand has a pathway to the top. which you're seeing at the moment, the fruits of that. And then just my assistant coaches, like we've got an awesome staff, an awesome group of players, but they make life so much easier for me by being so good at their job.
Andrew, it's Dean Ritchie. With all due respect, the Warriors haven't created a lot of ripples over here in terms of being a premiership threat. Does that motivate you, or you just don't really give a damn?
I couldn't give a crap, mate. If I'm being honest with you, I think we don't. I don't really hear it. I think it might motivate some of our players, and that's okay if it does. I mean, it won't hurt to prove people wrong along the way. But at the end of the day, like. We created plenty of ripples with our crowd at the Titans game on the weekend. I still believe we're the most well-supported away team in the competition every week, and I just feel there's enough riding on this and enough to play for each other and ourselves than to worry about what everyone else thinks about us.
Hey, Webby, that's that question where you pull out the whistle and blow it.
Mate, I'll put the whistle away, mate. I'll put the whistle away.
Actually, but like how do they deal with expectations? I was over there when you played the Titans. It was a sellout. Titans are coming last.
Yep.
And then on the weekend, you had a training session at Logan. That's in Brisbane's heartland. You had 6,500 fans there.
Yeah. I think the more we're exposed to it, the better the easier it's getting for our boys. I think last season, the worst expectation was the one we put on ourselves around our standards and the way we wanted to play. Like off the back of 23, we thought, this is going to be our year, and we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. This year, we've removed ourselves from that. I think it's the most grounded we've been, but we've spoken a lot that there's nothing wrong with going along for the ride with our fans or bringing them along with us and just celebrating the fact that we're so well supported. And that captain's run could have been seen to be a distraction in Logan before we drove down to Gold Coast, but gave us all some energy, and the boys loved it. And when they ran out to play the Titans, it was that loud, it felt like a home game.
Good on you, Webby. You're doing a great job. You've had a few setbacks this year, but you've handled it with class and bounced back nicely. Good luck this week and good luck in the finals.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Andrew Webster. You blokes have been fantastic tonight. Doggy, I think Webby wanted you to write the Warriors off there, because then that means that they're probably going to do
I've
well.
done enough stirring up for 1 year. I'm going to play nice all the way through the final.
I reckon you got some more in you.
I got one left, Braith.
Good on you, Paul.
That's for you.
Thank you very much. All right, tonight following NRL 360, it's face-to-face with English legend Gary Schofield.
Position, 37 metres out, right in front, this time off the post. My goodness! Canberra come back with a ball. We have seen it all, and Strange support in Wakes. That is the most remarkable rugby league moment in the most remarkable rugby league season.
Welcome back. That was our dynamic duo. Thanks to Vodafone. That's a wrap for NRL 360 for tonight. Gordy, now it's time for Face to Face.